Good evening. Welcome, everyone. There's a lot of people here. It's great. My name is Davida Singer, and I'm the curator of Kaleidoscope.
And I'm Isabelle de Koning, the producer for Kaleidoscope. And before we begin, we want to thank Mary Helen Hendricks and Laurie Johanning from the Department of Humanities and Sciences, and the team at the SVA Theatre who made this event possible. Thank you.
So you might ask, I think most of you might not, but some might ask, what is Kaleidoscope? In our case, we have used it to really describe this variety show, which is what we're having tonight. And it's really a mini art fest where you're going to see video, you're going to hear spoken word, there are going to be photographs, there's going to be live music, and actually a theatrical act as well. And all of this done by people who are affiliated with SVA, students, former students, alumni, and also faculty. So please sit back, enjoy yourselves, and before you completely enjoy yourselves, one more thing.
Please turn off all things in your possession which beep, ring, buzz, play musical tunes, or squeals. Without, I think I had one more thing. No. Oh, if you think you have turned them off, please check again. And without further ado, let's begin.
She asked me to listen. Asked me to open my ears like doors. She wanted me to hear her. To hear her in her whispers, she wanted me to know what she meant before she said it. Wanted me to bend my body in the shapes her mouth would take when she would speak. She wanted me to understand what it meant to not be heard. To stand in an empty room and have your echo ignore you. She didn't want me to stand out. She wanted me to know what it felt like to be the sky and not the star. To have traveled so long and still be so far. She wanted me to know what it meant to be everyone else. To be tripped up by racial divides and figure out you can't dig underneath colored lines. She wanted me to understand it was never about time. She said, don't listen to girls that match the color of street corners. Said they associated lies with a nose being too wide and for some reason you can never wash off the appearance of crime. She said black was never in style and it was always the wrong size and all of the depictions of heaven were built in white. We were a reflection of a sunset, not a sunrise. She asked me to listen. Asked me to hear the ratio of children crying to a mother's eyes, to trace along the lines of things that didn't go right. Asked me to understand that for her, this was every night. And someone, somewhere, has to start the fight. I'm your mestiza. I really need to start speaking from my mestiza roots. Announce to the world that I grew up being La India. The wrong amount of pigment surrounding the correct shape of an eye. The Spanish that bites my tongue before I can announce that. I, too, speak a history of immigrants. A history of workers, laborers. I am a laborer. I am a mestiza. I am also the third world. I am also black. I am also white. And I need to start announcing the intersectionality that we, children of the colonized world, women of the colonized world, let form in their womb. Announce that we can no longer feed them from our breast, that the space between our gaps in the ground is theirs and not ours. I am the child of a rapist, of a woman whose mother washed shirts of foreign soldiers with familiar needs. I am Hispaniola. I am the Americas. I am Asia. I am the outline of the darkest continent, the sweetest soil. I am the color of tree bark. I am the ash, the embers of my people on fire. Mia, I failed to have this memorized, your figure mesmerized, and until I was blind, I could not see. Could not breathe life meant less than death to me. Follow the devil into a home dipped in kerosene, but it takes a woman of faith to be set on fire. Legs bent back, we are given no power. Birth babies like flowers, but no ghetto blooms. And an earth without grass just ain't green. You never came in peace, came all over me. Flipped my tent on its stomach and went inside. You pulled out what was left of me. Left me in peace, invading my space. My space, you invaded my space. Picked up the pace. I was told semen leaves no trace, but a road of gold led into the depths of my soul. A fuck that filled me shallow, and girls lied when they screamed rape, because a boy will be a boy and a man an ape. A man is not aged, a man is a boy who's afraid to fight. So he grips defenseless woman at nights, gets a thrill from the fright. An angel whispered to cry if I could not fly, I'd attempt to float. Sick like dope, I cut into every vein. I am a bag lady with no luggage to claim. For women. This poem is for the daughters of mothers with hard destinies. For the women with low expectations and no dreams. For the women who make homes and beds without seams. For everything shoved in between. This poem is for dry cheeks and cracked hearts. No ending but a bunch of starts. Broken parts littered in empty parking lots. This poem is for the women they belong to. For the women that are strong too. This poem is for dark rooms that penetrate dark wombs and bury women into dark tombs. This poem is for every dead woman walking the street, for every wound that no longer bleeds. This poem is for the knife that cuts them. This poem is for the women who are forgotten by their fathers, for the woman that looked for him in the backseat of a car, for the man that lets her call him daddy. This poem is for vacant homes and the demons that live there, for cheap satin and $2 red lipstick for the imprint. This poem is for God and the woman he ignores. Thank you.
A group of sturdy, overgrown pine trees towered over a helpless little twig of a sapling covered in pine cones, with some sticking out of the countless holes in its body. Being the youngest and smallest of the trees was not at all fun for this poor sapling, especially since it was surrounded by the overwhelming presence of its colossal pine tree brothers, who stood tall enough to tear through the thick blanket of clouds overhead and overlook every corner of this beautiful green earth. I want to grow up to be strong and unrelenting in the face of Mother Nature's wrath, but I'm so sick of my brothers, the little sapling told itself as it attempted to dislodge each pine cone, one after another, using its stumped branches. I'm so sick of the crap that they put me through. I don't like that I live in their collective shadow and never get a taste of sunlight. I hate how they often whip and jab at me with their needle-sharp leaves, and especially how they break my branches off and blow my tiny light pink flowers away with every shot of scaly pine cones they take at me. I don't know why they treat me like this. Is it because I grow flowers instead of pine cones? Why can't I grow pine cones like every other tree? I want to leave. But the little sapling had been planted here, reared here, and its roots had extended many miles into the gradually hardening earth. But even so, it was not entirely grounded because this foul-tasting, sandy soil prevented it from growing, thus causing a large portion of its roots to dry up and perish. One day, fueled with anger and a burning hatred for its brothers, the sapling mustered up enough strength to pick itself up off the dirt, slowly extract what was left of its cracked and peeling roots, and slither across the sandy landscape, far away from this toxic environment. I don't know where I'm going, but I have a feeling that it's going to be a long and worthwhile journey. The Earth had already completed a full revolution around the sun since the brave little sapling began its drifting around the four corners of the Earth in search for a new and suitable home. After wandering endlessly in the unforgiving midsummer heat of the barren desert, a deep feeling of regret began to wash over it, as it knew that it would not last long in this ever-expanding horizon of fiery red sand. The sapling had to tame the voices in its head, telling it to turn back home and continue enduring the nightmare that awaited it there. Remember why you're doing this, the sapling told itself. You needed to escape the abuse of those callous criminals you called brothers. They were hollowing you out with their toxic threats and insults. They fed you to the woodpeckers. They were constantly sticking their pine cones into your wounds, and it would take you eternity to get them out every time. Remember? If only you had more branches, then maybe getting those prickly things out wouldn't have been such a nightmarish task. The long path that ran down the desert landscape cracked and crumbled with every step the sapling took, and its tiny roots were withering away with every passing minute. Time ceased to exist, and the path just kept stretching further into the faint horizon. It was littered with small rodent corpses, and the air was filled with the pungent smell of death and decay. The stench was nauseating, and the sapling knew that it didn't have much longer before it would eventually meet the same fate that had befallen the wildlife here. A loud thud echoed across the barren desert landscape. The sapling's tiny roots for legs finally gave way, and it now lay face flat on the burning sand. Death was on its doorstep. But it had to keep going. Keep fighting. You can do it. You will do it. Think happy thoughts. What should paradise look like? Trying to calm itself down and take its mind off of its current predicament, it conjured up images of mountains painted with layers of bright green conifers and a glassy green lake that reflected the rippled sea of clouds underneath the baby blue sky. The sapling lingered a little longer in its idyllic world before drifting back to reality, where it found itself feeling a little bit stronger. After mustering up every ounce of energy that was still left in its parched body, it slowly hunched over. Some of its roots scratched the earth, while others mistakenly grabbed onto each other in their search for something solid from which the sapling could pick itself up. Finally, they found a large rock, and then slowly, the sapling began to rise from the ground and take a big step forward. Welcome to Williams Lake, the etchings on the wooden post read. Where am I? How far have I been walking? The sapling thought to itself. It began to examine its environment. In the distance were colossal black mountains evenly sprinkled with white snow. A deep emerald lake shimmered in the sapling's peripheral vision. Rays of sunlight illuminated the water with a faint but noticeable glow. The jagged rocks adjacent to the lake formed a green and gray mosaic. The magnificent landscape left the sapling awestruck. This, however, was replaced by wariness once the sapling heard a barely audible whispering coming from something in the distance, which grew louder and louder as it got closer. The sapling's ears were strained to follow the whispering as it weaved through the forest in hopes of pinpointing its source. The search came to a halt when the sapling finally looked up and locked eyes with a whole army of conifers towering over it, their colors ranging from flaming reds and oranges to soothing greens and blues. The cracks and wrinkles of their confused and intrigued expressions reminded the sapling of the disgusted expressions displayed on the faces of its older pine tree brothers, the ones who bullied it into fleeing from its own home. They called the sapling a strange mutation, nature's screw-up, and a walking target practice for cops, simply because it was a long, single-branched stump with large bullet hole-like wounds throughout its body. But little did the sapling's brothers realize that their verbal abuse was what caused these holes to form in the first place. Their hateful criticism had also stripped the sapling of its flowers, its life force, its confidence. It was always in the spotlight, though, ironically, never in the sunlight. It only lived in the shadow of its brothers. Suddenly, a deep voice pulled the sapling out of its reflective state. "What's the matter, young one? You seem afraid." The sapling immediately turned to find an old but robust-looking tree. "I'm lost," the sapling said after a brief pause, hiding in a small patch of darkness behind some rocks. "Why, this beautiful paradise is known as William's Lake, filled with—" No, I'm lost inside," the sapling shyly confessed. "I don't know who I am or who I'm destined to become. I feel different from every other tree." Several of the trees nodded in sympathy. "You're right. You are different, but you have to learn to accept it," the old tree told the little sapling with a kind smile. "In this community, we thrive on diversity. Here, no two trees are identical. Each of our distinctive qualities balances out the sameness that we all share as a single species, and it is important to keep the scale balanced." All the surrounding trees expressed their agreement with the master tree's words. The little sapling took a moment to digest the eye-opening truth that had just been revealed. The old tree then extended its branches to the sapling in encouragement. "Come with us, young one," he said. "We will help you learn to accept and love your God-given differences by showing you ours. It'll be a long journey, but once you're able to turn self-hatred into self-love, you will thrive." The sapling did not take the old tree's branches immediately, and this signaled its hesitation to the rest of the trees, who, in response, extended their own branches one by one in a show of support. This gave the sapling mixed feelings, and it did not know how to respond. It was shocked and moved by the tree community's supposed act of love, but at the same time, it was scared and hesitant. It was willing to trust these trees, but the small voice in its head advised against it. Should I give them a chance? How do I know whether or not they're lying about their intentions? Am I willing to take the risk of becoming part of their community? The sapling's mind was racing with these questions, and its body refused to move. But the trees understood and allowed it plenty of time to make its final decision. After what felt like eternity, the little sapling decided to listen to its heart and finally extend its single branch. Perhaps everything the wise old tree said was genuine, as was the acceptance it had received from the rest of the trees. The sense of belonging was something the sapling had never experienced before. Some of the holes in its body were already starting to close, and it could see a number of tiny, light pink buds starting to form. It was slowly healing, and it began to feel something new. It felt at home.
Feet to walk on water. You know it's summer when the girlies are lean cuisine, heads up high, loose paint melting from their eyes, no fear of rooftops or whistle-down wolves. And the 5 boys on this breezy afternoon, wildfire behind every zipper, playing at chassis superintendents, examining the assorted stock, up against the cyclone fence of Thomas Jefferson Municipal. Before eye fishing, they'd autographed wet concrete on 108th Street, boosted bread and cooking oil from the Catholic pantry. Then they lured the Morningside pigeons with crumbs before dousing them in Crisco. Blisto struck fire from a match, and they watched those running roasts crackle in the air. Busy morning. Now they're stucco, hubble bubble when a hot one hoofs past, dazzled by a 40-ounce ass and plunging top, young dumb with sugar on their tongue for every sulking Madonna. And the girlie's like, you can kiss my footprints, and similar sass. The Barrio boys got a kick out of that. And when the park security lady turned her back, they flowed up the mesh in a silent torrent and hopped the sharp wires overhead. Nike's gone ass over tea kettle, shirts flying over their heads, and they made straight for the water filled with paddlers, puddlers, and poo-poo kids. The one-piece mamas with their dimpled thighs crouched low in the baby section. The banana-striped calientes proudly flaunt all their half-moons, and their men, Taino oak cuts with X1 tires for bellies, all clustered together, ambassadors at large and in the round, Don Pobres, sharing a flask of Ron Rico, while about their hammy legs, skulking shadows in aquarelle lighting that floated in the water like moon jellyfish. In those sun-stunned moments, the warring world was in a peaceful pause. But about those boys, better clear the lanes! These no-skid kids are on the straightaway, like engines, like Lamborghini Diablos, transmissions whooshing flames. And there ain't a thing on earth to halt this horsepower craze. Not the Jockey Club, not the DOT, not the U.S. military. Give these youngins their port of entry as they zipped ahead, knocking lotions aside, banging lounge chairs, unleashing war cries. Cuidado, malvados! Their blood running 50,000 volts out at the tippy toes. The topaz weave, honeycomb with sunlight, waiting for the crush of their bodies, as finally they made their lion leaps. Helio, who spotted Roll'em Right Rita by the concession stand. That gifted girl could not cherries without her hands. He had the flyest footwork, a bird of prey stance, a hot little head dizzy with plans. Elicio, who drop-kicked on Zulu time, fuck you, Fu Manchu, who fell with a sweet float finish that left the most delicate splash. And here's a cutie with casual dentistry, Blisto, who wishes he could adjust his height with the wrench, bring out a hammer and re-articulate his bones. Calcium, el doctor Bernardo said, leche condensada y maduro para usted. And look at Bam Bam, impeaching gravity, Argonaut of the airway, who comes from a family of wage slaves, laughing 'cause of Lil Lucinda, she of the cold sore 8 months out of the year, but he didn't care, who gave him a sweet 1 o'clock of walk-away love, pulling on his lips like taffy and leaving him the gift of caramel apples forever. And Mauricio, like a battleship, exploding in the water, a boiling frenzy, a melting maelstrom, whose papi used to be a yard dog for Mr. Body Construction. But he got burned when a salvage drum leaked a fifth of corrosives. and Papi got hooked on the Bonaroba to kill the pain. Now a sad and broken man hypnotized by rain. Each have their stories, each have their shames, but none of that matters today, because these boys, as beautiful as sons of the century, will live out the cosmic dream of the free-hearted and brave. For now, they are Barrio kings of their own sky islands, superboys out of a ghetto Edda, written by sidewalk sages drunk on rust barrel wine. They walk on water. They will never die. Gracias. Thank you.
Just a quick word before the next act. At the end of the 19th century, Swedish playwright August Strindberg wrote one-act play called The Stronger. In it, a wife meets the mistress of her husband and delivers a long monologue during which the mistress does not utter a word. What follows tonight is an imagined scene in which the mistress breaks her silence. Thank you.
Hello. This scene begins with the notion that Madame X has just said the last words of her monologue. Thank you, Amelia, for all your good lessons. Thanks because you taught me to love my husband. Now I can go home and love him. Amelia, actress, single, Caucasian, nationality Greek. Madame X, actress, married, painting, oil on linen.
And you? Who are you?
Moi, the painter, the waiter, the trickster, the creator.
Hello, again, dear. The words that you are about to hear are not just words of this dark hour. They are words of all hours, all women, of all times. But as it sounds to me, you are one of those that comfort themselves in the idea of the good woman, ladylike, housewife. But are you sworn to your dear man? Of course you are, and it's a beautiful feeling. But is he really your true love, or you just agreed to God's idea that his oath is the only truthful one, promising forever and ever, even after death, in heaven? Can you believe that? How lovely it all sounds. Is that all there is? Does it feel good to be one more brick in the wall of socio-religious promises? I say break the wall and let us enjoy the entire view. Have you ever wondered what would happen? Have you ever been there, met up physically? Close your eyes and imagine yourself lying down in a field of tulips. Now you love them, don't you? All these anxious and suspicious thoughts that you spoke of. Do you know why they occur? Because you chose to pave your conscience with them. Each decision you've made, one more achievement on the checklist of systemic happiness. Have you ever doubted that system? Yourself?
Good evening, Amelia. You're sitting here alone like a poor old maid. You know, it worries me to see you this way. Alone in a cafe, all by yourself.
Do you know why it worries you? What worries you? Because you never had the capacity to sit alone. Not just alone, with yourself. Have you? Despite your dear husband, your household, despite the role as an elegant wife of a government official and as the madam of the Royal Theatre, have you? Have you ever seen yourself without all these masks?
Yes, Amelia, dear. Home is, best of all, next to the theater. You understand, but you don't understand.
Life is a theater. And as you see, I'm physically here representing its absurdity. Drama must remain on stage. So let us revise. In this absurd theater that somehow brought us together in this very table, we face each other because of an interesting word you used a few minutes ago. A shared passion. Your husband. The kind of man all women go crazy about. The kind of man I should have. And I do, in my heart, forever. Just like you, only without fear and no despair for holy bones. My only faith is my human heart, for it is stronger. Now, why are you silent? What are you afraid of? You correctly stated previously that I'm not your enemy, that I'm your friend. Maybe our friendship begins this very moment, or a while ago, or maybe it will mature in time. But remember, now I exist because of you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be a mistress. I would be a lover. I am a lover. I am Eros.
Listen with your ears and eyes. Her words are old and wise. Thousands of years ago, men in Greece in white disguise created 2 words for love and 2 words for time. For love divine, they said, Eros. For love resilient to time, they said, Agapi. Both words may intertwine, however they don't rhyme. They explain themselves through the breaking down of time, which is dually defined as chronos and keros. Keros defies, but what survives is chronos, time, 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 time.
Eros. Love nor time are feelings that can be bought or sold or stolen. They have no color or sex. Both are for what they are when they are. And that's why lovers exist. Because Eros is about the timing, the chronicle. As I said, forever and evers are for those who cannot withstand the pathos of now. We're all going to die eventually, and no, we are not going to heaven nor hell for our passions. Because despite time and matter, love is the only thing that lasts forever. You can't just go home and love your husband now. If you're capable of loving anything, anytime, you should be capable of loving everything, all of time,
all of time. Good evening, Amelia.
recognize that the life we see is a pack of lies. So many lost along the way. Let's start again in the light of day on a new day. A new day. A new much. Thanks for having me. And mostly them.
Why is there blood in the sink? Saturated truth seeps through her silent gums. Naked, it always finds a way to unconceal. Scrubbing, she can hide it once again. Sitting on the hairs of her toothbrush lay remnants of mint-flavored malice. Worn white walls seclude her physical body, forcing her masked reflection to confront her consciousness. Cold, moist tiles cause her feet to slip on repeat. Condensation fills the room. Truth makes it hard to breathe. From the other hollow basin, drops hiss out of tune, hearing their presence. Why is there red in the sink? Leaking, the faucet is barely dripping, red hitting the ceramic bowl. It branches off like veins, taking 4 separate routes. It is the same truth as before, not even attempting a disguise. Scrubbing, she can't hide it this time. I witness through the ruptures of your mirror, your desperation transparent. I can now see through your desaturated palms, light dead hair. Betrayal, I have abandoned outside. Beware. My eyes soak sore and my skin unleashes deep, dark red. Can you feel it? Your wrongdoings are as clear as this water once was. Used, I have been fooled. Benign, as your character has come into focus due to the passage of time. Draining. You have taken from me my energy, no longer your outlet of emotional stability, opportunity. Envy wraps around you like ivy, spreads and grows wherever you place it. Maliciously, you have managed to manipulate this short story, circling around me, laying lies and residue of your virus that will never get past me, penetrate me, infect me. Pressing my fingers against this wet glass to fill and fix the gaps of your portrait, attempting to make sense of your persona. But you're still trying to pose like you have no voice to ventilate, no fault. But your falsehood sits on the forefront of your teeth and you know it as your mirror continues to crack, plaque, scarcely visible. We never want to see what isn't pretty. Your days will decay. Your days are decay. And the space between your 2 front teeth will again show red that will always return and leak out whatever you refuse to see, always remaining on the tips of your toothbrush at the end of today and the end of tomorrow and the end of. not for sale. I cannot remember, due to these societal clouds that slip into us, mass producing, constructing, our perception, distortion. There in my waking life stating, I am sexy, slimming, shameful, jealous, angry, on sale. I am on sale. You are on sale. Fooled, placed on repeat, put a tag on yourself and hope you sell 9 to 5 times a week. Spoon-fed toxicity, camouflaged injections, and white-wall job titles soaked with false sentiments of individuality and meaning. Fluorescent lights put us back in bed, sedated. Drowning out insanity with the hopes to feel sane. Lies, a systemic way of being, lavish and rich, pale green, cheap currency seduces you, keeping us in a radius of thought, demeaning. No wonder why we are in such a crisis of meaning. Large posters of repeated girls disintegrate from sidewalk walls, demanding, "You should be like this, dress like that. You should wear your hair so men can see your face. Men like to see your face." Well, maybe I want to hide from all their toxic air. Dare me to raise my hand, leave in the middle of this dinner. I am not what any of these peeling, once polished pictures are saying I am. Because I have tried with every piece of my being to block them out. They think I should edit myself. I do not want their free handouts, sellouts, as all things that come from them come with some sort of price tag, packaged as my sanity, sexuality, security. Why do you all want me to keep this mask on when my pores are becoming intoxicated and my skin sore? You should leave it on, you look beautiful. Processed powders that make a hue get applied to my face, but do not make me beautiful. Even I could find the letters that spell lie in beautiful. Thank you.
Borracha, drunk. March 2017. The pavement in Manhattan is moaning. 3 a.m., but she's somnambulant, vigilant, possessed by sirens and the eerie clang of all-night postal doors that rise and fall across the street. Since November, she's drunk it all in. The country sprung a leak. All hells broke loose. Another war afoot. Filthy paws on everything. And drunk with this, she wishes she were in Havana, Cuba, with a lover and the music of a Spanish Yiddish opera by her trumpeter-composer friend. She wishes she were not here in this city, icy gray, and pigeons who desperately need to be fed. There might be more static and desperate for light in Manhattan now than anywhere else in the world. There might even be more potholes, more rips in her bike tires than any place except Havana, Cuba. Shards of glass keep digging in, her tires gone flat, gone flat. She thinks she drinks too little to forget that time is impossible, unlikely, only an act. So it keeps keeping her awake, yearning for Havana, Cuba, like a secret that won't stay locked or still or close its mouth. third world, embargoed. But it is what it is. The faded glam caresses cobbled plazas. And just before the sky goes ashen in Manhattan and the moon is frost, before the coldest day of winter, she dials Havana in her heart. Weather says it's warm there, cozy to the Caribbean. Skeletal facades, rust dipped over balconies, dripped everywhere, cracks in all the dishes. It's the beauty of decay, unplugged, still up and standing on its legs. Tengo el permiso de la vida, reads a mural. Something real she could dig into. She could dig into. Here it's all a slip, a miss. Whatever can she do? New York's caved in, faces plunging on the train. Whatever can she do? All upside down, nocturnal, all endless noise and no spring map. Frigid air like so much ink dried up that reads silencio. What's left, sweetheart? She whispers to herself, or to a lover walking old Havana, worn out sneakers and a wrinkled smile. At every corner, buildings crumbling, but the murals glint and windows open to the twirl of heady salsa on the street. Overboard in shadow here. Are we afraid to sleep? She lifts carafe of kava, spreads tented fingers, wishes she were there, she were there, she were there. A sudden street dance. Nothing fancy, nothing glitter, just a taste of romance. Escapa. This matters now. All rights turn intimate. In Manhattan, there are students and more students. They're watching her for moves. Their questions come so flash, so furious, she wants to take them out of here. She's thinking something reckless. She wants to steal a bus and drive them to New Mexico, especially the ones who can't afford it, especially the ones who never meet her eyes. And they'll all watch double rainbows for a moment and a moment. They'll feed on desert sun, kiss earth on Taos Pueblo, just like that. Then write a poem and draw a portrait, just like that. And won't it make a difference somehow? All moments linger now and tremble like vibrato. Like lovers' kisses from a leaving train. They get remembered somewhere, don't they? Add up to something, don't they? She's heard if there are shortages of lettuce in a restaurant in Havana, if the fruit goes bad, just order something else that's on the menu. Something simple, rice and chicken. Like a fierce embrace, an hour of rumba on a lover's arm. She's wishing for a proof, a respite. between the join of the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico, a sign to track a lover down, some way to know if she can stretch her hand across an ocean in her mind so it can reach Havana, Cuba, then anything might be possible. She wishes she could tear her clothes off in her mind if she can get there, dive right off the coastline, wash away the scent of decadence and disappearance she, her students, and her students in Manhattan seem to share. So much about survival in this moment here. So touch is everything. She's gloveless now. Revolt that's tender, tattooed on her palms. Redraw the characters, replace the cast. We're drunk, erasing time that still exists. It's nothing new. It's nothing new, her student writes. Black people been living this 500 years. And just before the dawn goes ghost in New York City, and the iced moon plops before the coldest day of winter, she clicks Havana on a screen. Weather says a little rain now, a shortage of tomatoes, no skinny Levi's, no fancy linens, but something crazy, crazy and magnificent, like a Spanish Yiddish opera, like a crack of light, like dancing seagulls, lusty waves that slam along the beach. She's wishing she could steal a jet past reckless, pack in all her students and her students and her students, steer them to Havana, somewhere rare, unplugged and potholed, nocturnal, all endless noise. All endless noise. And like a lover leaning off the esplanade, El Malacon, in worn-out sneakers. In the background, worn-out cars, worn-out seawall, where it is what it is, like rice and chicken. Borracha, drunk with worn-out stars, all cracked, all shining. Or she wishes she could rocket all of them to Mars. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Who can retell? Throw me a stanza, throw me a line, a shatter, a shiver, a smash. Like bombs, like guns. Throw me a phrase, throw me a lyric. Boom, 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 boom. Like now, like poems. Like poems that burst, like petals, like music. Throw me a line, throw me a love, like wild flowers, like odes, like sweets. Who can retell? Who can retell? Like colors, like amber, like jasper, like copper, like bronze, like amethyst, like ruby, like sapphire, like aqua, like celadon, cerulean, like mango, like ginger, like robin's egg, like cinnabar, like citron. Now. Throw me a stanza, throw me a line, like jazz, like klezmer, like blues, like slide, like improv, like interval, like cadence, vibrato, like major, like minor, like tempo, tonality, adagio, allegro, atonal, like forte, glissando, legato, pianissimo, like octave, like staff, like rhythm, like pitch, like melody, like voice, like harmony. Who can retell? Who can retell? Like now, like coda, like encore. Throw me a stanza, throw me a line, a lyric, a quatrain, a pantun, a sonnet, sestina, a limerick, a ghazal, a haiku, a villanelle. A ballad, a blank verse, a stream of consciousness, a stream of consciousness, a list, a missive, a missive, a missive. Throw me a burst of love, like bombs, like guns, like friendly fire, like walls, like borders, like barriers, like bridges, like peace. Like peace. Like peace. Now. Who can retell? Now. Thank you. Could everyone come up, please? Everyone. Yeah. All those that performed, please. I just want to add that all the students here and former students, all the alumni, had taken courses in the writing program, which is in the Humanities and Sciences department, and it's the writing program that is presenting this entire event tonight. So thank you to the writing program. And please, let's hear it for all the wonderful performers tonight. Just one more addition. Anney Bonney is also a faculty member of SVA. She made the gorgeous video that you saw about monsters. Thank you to the musicians. Please, let's give it up for Frank Lumden on trumpet, Ken Filiano on bass, Newman Baker, I'm going to do it wrong, Baker Taylor on percussion. And thank you all for being here. Thanks so much. Yes. Okay, one more thing. It's time to do an ad. If you loved what you heard tonight, saw tonight, felt tonight, there is on the back of your program a little something about a course in Taos, New Mexico. Yes, actually, we're going to Taos, New Mexico, called Writing in the Land of Enchantment. This is also out of the Humanities and Sciences Department and the writing program. And it is happening the first 2 weeks in June. And it is for 2 weeks. There's lots of information that you can get if you take a look on the back. But this is for 3 credits, and it is an extraordinary opportunity, so please consider it if you are in any way interested in creative writing, in expanding your artistic abilities, and in seeing a very, very beautiful place in the United States. Thank you again, and have a lovely evening and weekend.